I feel I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. I got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Terence Crawford. I mean, skill-wise, I think he's a better fighter than Canelo.
With Crawford going up, I believe he can put a beating on anybody 154, 160.
Terence Crawford didn't hold back in a live interview when speaking about Canelo Alvarez. He clearly stated why he believes he's the superior fighter. Crawford agreed that Canelo is bigger and stronger, but said he's quicker, has a longer reach, and most importantly, better skills. He mentioned that the opponents Canelo has defeated weren't as talented as he is, though he stressed he meant no disrespect. Crawford also addressed those who doubt he can face someone like Canelo, saying that kind of criticism only pushes him harder. While he praised Canelo as a top-level fighter, Crawford said his sharp technique and ability to adapt in the ring give him an advantage. He's sure he can outbox Canelo and wants everyone to know he's fully prepared.
I feel I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out. From Kirkland to Amir Khan to just...
Don't do
obviously,
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not. Kovalev.
Kovalev was older. He does.
Billy Joe.
Don't get me wrong. He does have a lot of power, but all those guys that you name is not as skillful as me. I'm sorry. No disrespect to none of those fighters. The skill level is night and day.
So how do you see a fight with Canelo go?
Tough fight. Canelo is a great fighter. Like, I always had respect for Canelo, but I just believe in my skills. The fact that people doubt me, it just fueled me even more. Try to get the fight even more. And I'm watching him, I'm like, man, I can beat this dude. I've been fighting people bigger than me all my life, and I always came out on top. You gonna get hit. It's a fight. He gonna get hit too. It'll be good.
Jeff Mayweather gave his take on the possible fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, highlighting the clear difference in how they fight and what Crawford would need to do to come out on top. He said Crawford has more skill, but Canelo's power in his weight class makes the challenge much harder. According to Mayweather, Crawford would have to fight nearly perfectly to win. He also pointed out that both fighters are getting older, and it's tough to predict when either might start slowing down. With both still ranked among the best in the sport, even a slight drop in performance from one of them could be the key factor in such a close matchup.
Terence Crawford. I mean, skill-wise, I think he's a better fighter than Canelo, but Canelo is also a great fighter but he owns that weight class that he's in. So I would just say that I think that Crawford has to fight almost a perfect fight to win, and take advantage of Canelo's mistakes.
Mayweather thinks Crawford has a real shot at winning if he uses his skills wisely and takes advantage of any openings Canelo gives him. Still, he admits the fight could be very close. Crawford might win on points or lose by a small margin. Jumping up several weight classes is a tough task for Crawford, but if he can maintain his speed and accuracy while handling Canelo's power, he's definitely in the game. It all depends on how well he performs. Canelo's experience at heavier weights gives him a physical edge, but Crawford's smart thinking and ability to adjust could balance things out. If the fight happens, it'll come down to skill versus strength, and Crawford will need to outbox and outthink Canelo every round to come out on top.
Both guys are aging, and you never know. You never know when they're going to show their age. So it could be either one of them that does that. But I mean, I just lean toward Crawford because I just see dude has so many skills. And I mean, I just see that him possibly winning the fight by decision, but could also lose a close decision.
Teddy Atlas shared his thoughts on the Crawford vs. Canelo fight, pointing to times in boxing history when smaller, more skilled fighters managed to beat bigger, stronger opponents. He said some people now believe Terence Crawford might be one of those rare fighters who can overcome the size gap, like in the old catchweight fights. Atlas questioned if too much attention is being given to Canelo's size, saying it might not be as big of a problem as it seems. He believes Crawford's smarts, quick footwork, and speed could be what really matters. Atlas asked if Crawford might be just too sharp and fast for Canelo to take control with power alone. He reminded fans that boxing is about skill and defense, not just strength.
I believe we had the Crawford. It looked like we had the Crawford. We were talking about that. Can a really great small guy beat a really good big guy, you know? We were getting into that mind frame again. Some people were saying, oh, Canelo's too big, forget it. But we were getting into the right mind frame, the right with this great sweet science, with this sport that goes back longer than any other sport in the world, where catch weights used to be in the 20s to 30. Little guys beat big guys, and it wasn't that unusual. So we were starting to get into that frame of thinking. Okay, can this great guy Crawford, can he, instead of looking at it as a disadvantage that Canelo is so big?
Teddy Atlas made a strong comparison to get his point across. Boxing shouldn't be like bullfighting, where the matador always wins. Sometimes, he said, the bull pulls off the unexpected and outsmarts the matador, even if it doesn't happen often. That's why the idea of Crawford beating Canelo has fans excited. More people are starting to believe it could actually happen. Atlas also shared some frustration with boxing itself, saying that just when the sport starts gaining real momentum, something always seems to block the way. He didn't give specifics, but his comments reflected boxing's long history of missed opportunities and behind-the-scenes issues stopping major fights from happening.
That maybe he'd be too smart, too slick, too quick, you know what I mean? Too special in those areas, not to allow Canelo to use his size and his counterpunching and everything else. And that's what the sweet science is about. You know, it's not supposed to be just about, letting a bull run out into the bull ring and then wait until the matador puts a spear in. It's supposed to be about the bull actually having a chance to outslick the matador, which don't happen too often. So now we were starting to get into interesting grounds. Okay, people were buying into it. Yeah.
Conor Benn shared his thoughts on the Crawford versus Canelo fight, saying it's shaping up to be a close and highly competitive matchup. He believes Terence Crawford has the skills, ring IQ, and adaptability to beat anyone from 154 to 160 pounds. But when it comes to Canelo, it's a different challenge. Canelo isn't just powerful, he's also experienced and technically sharp, with a resume full of top-level opponents. Ben pointed out that while Crawford's talent gives him an edge over most fighters in that range, Canelo is a different beast. He's already dealt with slick boxers and has the kind of power that can change a fight in one shot. On the other hand, Crawford isn't about raw power. He's a smart and calculated fighter who wins with precision and strategy. That's what makes this fight so exciting. It's not just about who's stronger, but who can better execute their plan in the ring.
With Crawford going up, I believe he can put a beating on anybody 154, 160.
But not 68.
Nah, Benavidez is...
Oh, Canelo. Yeah.
Oh, Canelo. I think he's a smart fighter. He doesn't rely on his power. Crawford ain't a fighter who just relies on his power. And then Canelo, when he's fought Belenga, then fought Ryder, Munguia. It's even. I think it'd be a 50-50 fight if Crawford fought Canelo.
Joe Rogan praised Saudi Arabia's rising impact on boxing, giving major credit to Turki Al-Sheikh for helping make long-awaited big fights finally happen. He said Saudi efforts have pushed past usual roadblocks like promoter conflicts and network battles, bringing the sport to a new level. Rogan also shared his belief that Terence Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez, saying the weight difference doesn't worry him. To him, Crawford's top-level skills are enough to overcome the size gap. He sees boxing as a test of strategy, timing, and technique, not just power, and believes Crawford stands out in all those areas. With his ability to adjust, plan ahead, and execute perfectly, Crawford has proven he can beat anyone. While Canelo is a tough, experienced champion with major wins, Rogan feels Crawford's technical ability gives him the upper hand. For Rogan, it's not about size, it's about who's smarter and more skilled in the ring.
Look at the elite of the elite boxers. To a man, to every one of them, they're disciplined. Yeah. And they stay focused. I'm so excited to see this fight with Canelo Alvarez because I think the Saudi Arabians have so much money. They're throwing so much money at boxing. And the guy who's the head of boxing over there wants to make that fight happen. I think Terence Crawford, forget about the 3 weight classes. I think he could beat Canelo.
I think he can too.
Eddie Hearn spoke about the difficulties in making the Canelo versus Crawford fight happen, saying scheduling was one of the main issues. He shared that while a deal was being discussed, it wasn't finalized in time for Canelo's usual Cinco de Mayo fight date. With that date being important to Canelo, he instead focused on becoming undisputed at 168 pounds. Hearn pointed out that if Canelo goes into a Crawford fight as the undisputed champ, it would make the event even bigger. He also said it would be historic for Crawford to chase a 3rd undisputed title, a move that would add even more to his legacy in the sport.
I think one of the issues around the whole situation was they'd agreed the Crawford fight, but they hadn't agreed a May fight, and Canelo wanted to fight in May. And there aren't really a lot of options, but by beating Skull, you can become undisputed. And I feel like the fight with Crawford as an undisputed fight is pretty cool, because Crawford's undisputed at 47 and 40, and he could become a 3-division undisputed champion.
Edgar Berlanga shared his thoughts on the upcoming Canelo versus Crawford fight, saying that in boxing, anything can happen. He praised Crawford as a legend with top-tier skill, high fight IQ, and the ability to adjust mid-fight. Berlanga said Canelo's main advantage is his size, since he's naturally the bigger fighter, but when it comes to boxing basics, he believes Crawford is ahead. He pointed out that Crawford's technique, smarts, and overall skill set stand out, and Canelo doesn't clearly beat him in those areas. While he respects Canelo's experience and status, Berlanga sees Crawford as the more complete fighter in terms of movement, precision, and strategy. His take supports the idea that size isn't everything. Crawford's skill could cancel out the weight difference, making this a very close and exciting fight.
Brother Terence Crawford wants to fight Canelo.
Yeah.
Just from your expert opinion, knowing how Canelo fights, what he's like in the ring, I know you haven't been in the ring with Terence, but what do you think of that fight?
I truly believe, that, anything can happen in boxing, you know what I'm saying? And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better. You know what I'm saying? But Crawford is a legend, bro.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can't count him out. You know what I'm saying?
Carl Frock gave his honest take on the Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez fight, focusing on the major challenge Crawford is up against. He pointed out that Crawford began his career at lightweight and is now jumping 3 full weight classes to fight at super middleweight, a huge leap. Frock said this isn't just about facing a bigger name, but about dealing with a serious size difference that could affect everything in the ring. Also mentioned that both fighters are in their mid to late 30s. Crawford is 37 and Canelo is 35, which means their bodies don't adjust to weight changes as easily as they used to. Frock's biggest concern, though, is the lack of a rehydration clause. Without it, Canelo can weigh in at 168 pounds and then rehydrate overnight, possibly coming in at over 175 pounds, around 14 stone. That gives him a clear physical advantage, not just in weight but also in power. Frock said the matchup feels very one-sided because of that size gap. Even though Crawford is one of the most skilled fighters in the sport, Frock believes Canelo's physical edge is just too much, making it hard to see how Crawford could realistically win.
What I think should be gone. The notion that Terence Bud Crawford should move up 3 weight classes, 21 pounds, to fight Canelo Alvarez. He's entirely too small. Jamel Charlo already proved that. Y'all remember that scene from Rocky? Remember that scene from Rocky 2? When Carl Weathers was Apollo Creed and his trainer was like, can I be honest? I saw you beat this man within an inch of his life. And he kept coming. He wouldn't go away. He's wrong for us, baby. He's wrong. Let it go. Apollo couldn't do it. And lost fight number 2. Trained him for fight Rocky 3 and then got killed in Rocky 4 by Drago. Because he couldn't let it go. Bud Crawford needs to let it go. Too small.
Carl Frock continued analyzing the upcoming Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez fight, giving Crawford full respect for everything he's accomplished. He praised Crawford's undefeated record, world titles in multiple weight classes, and his rare achievement of being a 2-time undisputed champion. Frock called him a remarkable fighter with a solid legacy, but said this upcoming fight is a whole different kind of test, pointed out that while Crawford is one of the greats, He's also approaching the end of his career and is now moving up to face a younger, much bigger opponent in Canelo Alvarez. Froch said this fight could take Crawford's legacy even higher, but the challenge is massive. Canelo has the size, power, and far more experience fighting at this weight. The lack of a rehydration clause adds to the difficulty. Canelo could enter the ring much heavier than the weigh-in limit, giving him a serious physical advantage. Froch respects Crawford's bravery in taking on such a fight, but questioned whether this move might be pushing things too far. He reminded fans that while Canelo has lost before, this fight is a huge task. Crawford is stepping into the ring against one of the strongest and most experienced fighters in the game.
3 weight divisions, for me, it's a big issue. He's not a bigger man. I mean, he's 37 years old, Canelo's 35. They're both sort of at the end of their careers. Crawford, I'm not going to say he's old, so that's going to be a major problem, because as you're older, you do want to step up the weight divisions because it's harder to take weight off. Neither of these guys are taking weight off, so that's not an issue, but there's no rehydration clause. And the issue with that is, for me, is the fact that Canelo can weigh whatever he wants the next day. So he's going to get down to 168 pounds super middle, and he's probably going to be getting in the ring way over 175 pounds at the light heavyweight limit. He'll be up at, like, in English money, it's going to be up at like 14, maybe towards 14 stone. And there's no way that Terence Crawford's going to be that heavy. He's going to be coming up to 168, and it'll only be a few.
Carl Froch continued analyzing the upcoming Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez fight, giving Crawford full respect for everything he's accomplished. He praised Crawford's undefeated record, world titles in multiple weight classes, and his rare achievement of being a 2-time undisputed champion. Froch called him a remarkable fighter with a solid legacy, but said this upcoming fight is a whole different kind of test, pointed out that while Crawford is one of the greats, he's also approaching the end of his career and is now moving up to face a younger, much bigger opponent in Canelo Alvarez. Froch said this fight could take Crawford's legacy even higher, but the challenge is massive. Canelo has the size, power, and far more experience fighting at this weight. The lack of a rehydration clause adds to the difficulty. Canelo could enter the ring much heavier than the weigh-in limit, giving him a serious physical advantage. Froch respects Crawford's bravery in taking on such a fight, but questioned whether this move might be pushing things too far. He reminded fans that while Canelo has lost before, this fight is a huge task. Crawford is stepping into the ring against one of the strongest and most experienced fighters in the game.
Unbeaten. He's a former 2-weight undisputed. I think he's 2-weight undisputed. Let me know in the comments. You always correct me if I get it wrong. But he's unified the divisions. At least 2, even 3 divisions. He's been a world champion. So this is a guy that's unbeaten and dominated at virtually every level. But he's now at the end of his career and he's daring to be great. This is a fight that will really secure and seal his legacy. But he's taken on Canelo Alvarez, 2 years younger, bags of experience, and a lot bigger with no rehydration clause. This is a mountain to climb for Terence Crawford. So fair play to him for taking this fight on. But is it a step too far? I don't even know if it is a step too far. I mean, it's a fight between 2 top world level elite athlete boxers who...
That's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to stick around for more updates coming soon.